Alright, I got water shoes, old clothes, a shovel, a bucket, and my camera. Holder, tripod, whatever you call it. And what we're doing, we are going over to the clay seam. And we're going to get a bucket full of clay. And come down here. Now it's 80 some degrees, so this is actually going to feel pretty nice getting in my nice cool creek. And as you can see, we got the clay seam over there, right on top of that coal bed. Woo, the water is a little chilly, but it's pretty nice. Now, let's get set up here. See, we got some flat rocks. Well, look in that bank. I don't see any arrowheads. Now, one of the ways I know this is clay is because you see how the bank washed out up there? That's the dirt. The dirt dissolves when the water comes up. But the clay doesn't. The clay is like a fake rock. See how it smears? That's the fire clay. You can also use this for pottery and whatnot. And down there is the coal seam. Now, being on a coal seam makes this pretty good clay. It means it's pretty old, and there shouldn't be a lot of stuff in it. But we're going to fill the bucket and then put some water in, slush it around to let all the rocks and stuff settle, then pour it off into another bucket, and that's how we'll purify our clay. Be right back. I'm going to set my camera up on that tree somewhere and video me digging some clay. Alright, we're set up. There's my clay seam. Gotta open my bucket. Got stupid flies bothering me. Feels so good in the creek. My grandson has a pool set up over there that we got him, but hopefully that's in view. Now here, I'll show you some of this. It's red and gray. The gray is decayed shale. This is good clay. It's formed from the shale that's on top of the coal bed decomposing. Not many rocks in it. When I get done filling this bucket, I'll bring you over and show you the different colors here. Who knows, maybe we'll find some ancient plant life in here. Alright, there's our holes dug. Our bucket's pretty full. That ought to be enough for the furnace I'm going to build. I'm going to build a furnace for melting aluminum. I'm building a slab saw for my rock myself. I'm going to use this furnace to melt aluminum, and I'm going to sand cast the pulleys. I already have the bearings and all that. I'm going to sand cast the pulleys, but you can see it's gray and red and brown. This is good stuff. It does need purifying, and we're going to go over that next. And that'll be the second part of this video, purifying clay. Now right here you can see that black stuff? That's coal. And that's how the fire clay, it gets here. See right there? That's a shale layer in between this coal layer, a shale layer, and then the coal layer I'm standing on. And the shale layer breaks down into the fire clay and makes some really good pottery. And I don't see, I'm always looking, and I never see an arrowhead or a point or anything. And my nephew, who finds stuff, I won't say all the time, but he's always looking, says, in the bank, 6 inches from the bottom. But maybe I'll come over here and dig someday and screen it out and see. Closer look at this before I mix it up to start purifying. See how smooth that is? That's the decomposed shale. It's gray. It hasn't been exposed to air to oxidize. Now this red has been exposed. That's the surface layer, and it is red because the iron oxide in the shale, iron oxide 1 turns to iron oxide 2 or something, and then it becomes red. Iron hydroxide, I mean. So that's why there's two different colors. You can see there's some roots and stuff in there, but we're going to fill this bucket with water, get my drill and the paint mixer, and turn it into a slurry. Leave it set for a couple minutes so all the rocks and stuff sink and the branches float. And then dump it into another bucket and do it one more time to purify it. Interruption, but you can see this isn't dirt. It doesn't collapse under the water, even under pressure. So we gotta soak it, fill this bucket up, and soak it, and then come back with our paddle mixer and our drill and turn it into a liquid. Now, if you have a lot of time in a big container, you can do this and pour that water off, and that will be pure clay. But we're not going to do the slow method. Now you can see how that water still looks cloudy. That's the clay. Clay doesn't settle out real fast. And we've got our mixer. We got it on 1. And we're going to start turning this clay. This coat is to pour the water into for settling. Now we don't want this to get too thick. So once we get to a nice slurry, we'll leave it set for a second, and then we'll dump it off. But if you want to make homemade pottery, this is how you do it too. If you got a creek with a coal seam and some good clay, alright, well I'm going to use 2 hands to get the basic idea here. And now you can see it's already getting thick. That's going to be ready to pour off in a minute. And if you see anything floating, see like right there, bark, throw it out. Alright, I'll be back. Now you can see I got the grass and the roots and stuff. Get that all off. Then we got like a soup. We're going to leave this sit for a minute so any rocks will settle out. Now I'm not worried about a few little branches and stuff because I'll get them when I further process the clay. But you can see it's not settling right away. So I'm going to find a screen so I can screen this. So I'll be back. Alright, I took some hardware cloth, made a rudimentary screen. I'm going to leave that soak for a little bit. Then I'm going to screen it again I'm gonna set my camera up so you can see me dump it into the screen and all the stuff I keep. And then if there's any clay balls left, we'll wet them and run them again. And then I'll put a cover over this. And I'll leave this set. It'll probably take 2 days. The water will get crystal clear. The clay will be on the bottom. I'll siphon that water off and start letting that clay dry. That way I won't have any air bubbles. When it gets pasty, I'm going to take half of it, mix it with vermiculite, and start making my furnace. But we'll see that later. Back in the creek for a nice little cool down. And it is nice. Because I forgot my tripod over here. And the water's cleared up. You can see the coal, the second coal seam. First coal seam's up there. Clay, fire clay, coal seam. Good pottery clay, good stuff. So, and you know, who knows how far it goes. But all down along this bank, down there on the bend, is a big shale. And I used to take that when I made pottery and grind it up. And it makes good stuff. And you can see. So, let me get my camera mount. Go back over and finish up today's clay processing. And we'll pick up probably in a couple days for part 2, making a furnace. I like this little octopus looking camera mount. And got it mounted to my shovel. Put my phone in. Hopefully I don't shut it off. There we go. We got everything in view. We're going to do one more mix. We want as much clay in the first run as we can. And get as much sook out. I think technically, look, there's a whole bunch of stuff come out on that, you know. We'll take our bucket now, do some heavy lifting, pour it through slowly and see what we get. Oh, that's heavy, guys. See, we got a lot of good clay still in lumps. So we're going to leave that soak through. We don't want it to run down over this end. I need, as Mr. Krabs would say, a spatula. Let me see if I can find something to stir that around with. I'll turn you off while I look for Okay, I got this can. Now I don't want to push it through. I'm stirring it around so the stuff that's already dissolved can go through. Now this is all still good clay, but you can see it likes to form clay balls. That's why the gold miners don't like clay, because it traps the gold. But some places the gold is actually in the clay. Well, an inch in, so you have to process it to get your gold. Ooh, almost a calamity. We don't want that mixing. Okay, we're going to take this. We're going to move it around. Sorry, I can't stop the film. I'll try and edit it, but got to get some of this weight off of here. Okay, we're going to take the rest. We're going to scoop this off. Put it back in the bucket. All right, add more water, mix. You get the idea, and that's the end of the clay processing video. We'll do one more thing. I had my drill on low because it was the big giant clumps, but now I switched it to high so I can break up all them little clumps. We ought to have a lot less thick in the screen this time. And we're going to give that a minute. Give my back a minute, actually. I've been in a lot of pain since work on Thursday. I did something. Somehow, something or other, pulled some kind of a muscle in my back. But we almost got it all that time. We're going to do a couple more times because I want all the clay. And I'm not going to film anymore. That was the last trick to show. And when the clay is ready, it'll be part 2 of building a slab saw from stuff in my yard. All right, one last clay video. There's our organic debris. You can see very little in that seam. There's our rocks. Very little rocks. Very little rocks.